Boom! Welcome into SportsBIT. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy Tuesday, February 28th. Big game breakdown. The Warriors hit the road to take on the Wizards. And Oklahoma State takes on Iowa State. You thought part one was good. Part two with Steve Cyr coming up. The deep dive, you won't want to miss that. Subject of the book, Whale Hunt in the Desert. A guy takes the MGM for $11 million in one night playing blackjack. People committing suicide, knocking over a cocktail waitress tray, and then paying off her mortgage the next day. Some great stories from Steve Cyr coming up, and the crazy demands from the high rollers and the whales coming up. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Teddy, LeBron James point spread shenanigans again with the sore throat. Will he play? Won't he play? Markets went crazy.
Oh, it's what they do, and the markets need to go crazy because LeBron's worth as much as anybody in the NBA. The Cavs are 0 for the season without LeBron in the lineup. That's straight up, as well as ATS. So LeBron's got strep throat. Oh, the line drops, 8.5 down to 7.5. Oh, LeBron's feeling better. The line, boom, back up to 10.5. It closed 9.5. So Cleveland shoots 50% from the floor. They only missed 4 free throws. They shot 85% from the line. The Bucks lost Michael Beasley to what looks like a serious injury. They didn't dress Chris Middleton. Greek Freak was off. Only scored 9 points. And yet, when all's said and done, there's Milwaukee getting the money. They scored 10 of the game's last 15 points. The lead was cut from 12 with 2:30 to play down to a 7-point final margin. The LeBron point spread shenanigans made a difference, and the Bucks get the money.
Yes, good breakdown there. Bad bets continue. The Raptors bet up from 2 to 3.5 at the Garden. They trailed by as many as 17, but they're playing the Knicks, so they had a shot to come back. They win the game on the DeRozan jumper, but don't get the money.
Yeah, and now 3-0 straight up without Kyle Lowry, who they may not get back to the playoffs. The early reports on Lowry are bad. DeRozan averaging 37.7 points in those 3 wins. And last night, look at the ESPN Stats and Info tweet. DeRozan scoring the final 12 points of the game for Toronto, outscoring the Knicks by himself during that span. And, of course, that 1-point differential was the 1-point margin. That being said, Raptors were a bad bet. They never sniffed a point spread cover.
All right, you told me not to use this. It was Square Ball City. Carolina bet up from 1.5 to 3.5 at Virginia. They played a week and a half ago. Carolina ran them out. No problems there. I wasn't buying Virginia. They have struggled for about a month now scoring, but it wasn't the problem. They held North Carolina to 43 points last night.
Yeah, that's insane. The Tar Heels had 35% shooting from the floor. They had more turnovers, 14, than assists, 12. Not that Virginia shot the ball well. They shot 32%, but they only had 4 turnovers for the whole game. So they ended up with 11 more field goal attempts and 1 more free throw attempt. So you get that many more shots, you win, even if you don't make that many of them. Who do we talk about on yesterday's SportsBIT as the X Factor, Pauly? We talked about the Frosh. Kyle Guy said, hey, here's someone who hasn't done much all year. All of a sudden against NC State, he lit it up. Well, guess what? He got moved into the starting lineup, and he lit it up again against North Carolina. 5 from 7 from downtown. 17 points overall for the Frosh. He was a point spread difference maker last night.
Didn't like the spot here. Miami was the dog. They became the favorite at Virginia Tech off the huge win Saturday at home against Duke. Virginia Tech at home with a 5-point win.
Yeah, another bad bet. Miami +1 to -1.5. Hurricanes did not bring their A game. And you know what? These days, you need an A game to win at Virginia Tech. Kudos to the Hokies. Knock off a Miami team that looked a little bit flat.
Yeah, a lot of bad bets. Kansas bet up to 14.5 at home against Oklahoma. They were down big in that game. They closed the game on a 31-9 run.
Yeah, exactly. Oklahoma led 54-42. And the last 10 minutes, Kansas, the Sooners absolutely collapsed. And the Jayhawks went nuts and the crowd went insane. They still didn't cover. They only won by 10. Senior night. And you're going to hear this all week about senior nights and senior night. Senior night does not mean we'll win the game by more than 15 points. Okay? It means you're going to likely get a good effort. It means there's going to be additional distraction. And oftentimes it means that point spreads are inflated, like the one we saw for the Jayhawks last night.
Yes, and one more in soccer. The Premier League, the new coach angle. Leicester City fired their manager. They played Liverpool at home, their first win in the Premier League since December. Vardy scores, they win 3-1, plus 440. I saw in some spots there to cash the ticket. They beat Liverpool 3-1, a big win as they get the new manager, and they're also trying to avoid relegation, and they're still alive in the Champions League as well. That always, with the new coach angle, got to play that and see if maybe they get hot and they can put a winning streak together as well. Now, some point spread shenanigans here, Teddy. The Warriors, opened 13 in some spots. They didn't play well. Curry was 0 of 11 from 3, but they're up 13. The 76ers laying in at the buzzer.
Yeah, there was a lot. I mean, the final minute was stress. I had a big bet on Philadelphia last night, and the final minute was a nail biter. A little bit. That being said, Golden State never, ever led in that game by more than 13 points. They never led. They never had a 14-point lead. The line closed 14. I had 14 in my pocket. And the biggest under-the-radar trend in the NBA, we talked about the Wizards at home. We talked about Miami. We've been pretty good at pointing out these streaks early on. This one I haven't, and I apologize because sometimes you got to keep it in your pocket. But the 76ers are now 12-0 ATS. Their last 12 at home. All I ask, shh. Probably too late for that now.
Yeah, right. All right, up next, big game breakdown. The Warriors continue the road in Washington against the Wizards, plus Oklahoma State and Iowa State. And then part 2 with Steve Cyr in the deep dive on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBIT, Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy. Follow us on Twitter at Pauly Howard, at Teddy_covers. Time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Warriors in D.C. to take on the Wiz. Golden State 6.5, 229.5 the total. Big game for the Wiz, but are they up to the challenge? They went into the break, 15 and 2 straight up, led in the final half second of both losses. Out of the break, 0-2 straight up in ATS, lost to the spread by 29. Rebounds 100-60 in favor of Philly and Utah.
Yeah, and of course, after the loss to the Jazz, John Wall kind of went off on the officiating. Quote, "It's frustrating. You keep attacking the basket. No name guys. Getting calls on the other end. That's getting little contact. You drive to the basket and get contact the whole game. They try to make up for those calls the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. It gets frustrating. But I got to do a better job as a leader of this team in keeping my emotions in check. But don't try to give me the calls late to make me feel good. That's not going to change the outcome or how aggressive I want to be in the game." And Wall may have something there. I mean, the free throws in the first half against Utah, Wizards 1, Jazz 18. Of course, he can't necessarily blame his turnover problems on the fouls. I mean, you could blame him on, but the bottom line, he had 9 turnovers against Utah after 6 versus Philly. The thing that worries me, and you talked about that dominance on the boards, they were killed 52-27 against Utah after getting clocked against Philadelphia. And if there's one area where Washington may well have a weakness, the rebounding really stands out. Look at this graphic, Pauly. Real clear. The Wizards, as a team, 240 minutes, they had 27. Rudy Gobert, 36 minutes, he had 20. That's not a good ratio.
Nope, you're right about that. Homecoming for Durant, born in D.C., played high school ball at Oak Hill Academy. Golden State just 1-5 ATS, second night of back-to-backs on the road. Kerr, quote, "Here you go, Golden State. Here's your marquee game against the Spurs on a Saturday night on ABC, and it'll be your 8th game in 12 days with 10,000 miles. It's insane. So got to be very, very careful about our players' welfare and make sure they're fresh and not too fatigued because we know that can lead to injury," end quote. They didn't have to worry about it against Philly because they were in control, even though Curry couldn't make a shot. But we'll see what he does with the minutes down the stretch. Green played 36 minutes. Thompson played 36 minutes. Curry 34 and Durant 32. So we'll see how he handles it moving forward, Teddy.
Well, that's just it. I mean, in theory, against Philadelphia, when you're 14-point road favorites, you're supposed to be able to coast in that game and keep your starters on the bench for extended stretches. And that didn't happen last night. The Sixers, it wasn't a tight contest, but it wasn't a blowout either. And that's the same Kerr quote we had on the show last week coming out of the All-Star break, but it's worth repeating twice. Golden State, they've been bad ATS in the second night of back-to-backs on the road. You have a coach who's really worried about managing minutes, and he's calling this particular road trip insane with the back-to-back situations. And everybody played more minutes than they were supposed to last night. So I know the Wizards haven't looked good those first 2 games out of the break. This might be a spot for Washington to bounce back.
Game number 2, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. College now. Oklahoma State hits the road to take on Iowa State. Iowa State is 4, 162.5 the total. First meeting in Stillwater, Iowa State was getting 3.5. They won 96-86. They were down 5 with 10 minutes left, then controlled it down the stretch. Morris went off 30 points on 10 of 16 shooting, Teddy.
Yeah, had 5 assists and no turnovers in that game for Monty Morris. And this is going to be one of those senior night settings that means something. You look at Iowa State senior starters. Throw the graphic up there. You got Monty Morris, Devontae Burton, Matt Thomas, and Nazareth Mitru Long, all of whom average in double digits, all of whom rebound, all of whom distribute. And it's not just those seniors for Iowa State. You got the reserves. Dowell Bowie averages 6 points a game, and Merrill Holden is a couple of points. And Stuart Neslick. All those guys are going to get playing time too. So we're talking about 7 seniors for the Cyclone on senior night. And yet, Pauly, here we are. This line's only sitting at 4 right now. What's a skinny? Oklahoma State playing some pretty good basketball.
No doubt they might have the coach of the year in Brad Underwood. Remember, they started 0-6 in league play, and they've been awesome since. They come in 10-1 straight up and a 9-2 ATS run. 5 straight Big 12 road wins, 4 of them as a dog.
Yeah, sure. And when you talk about what Oklahoma State is doing, well, remember last week, at least I think it was the weekend preview show, we talked about how historically good the UCLA offense was. Guess what? Oklahoma State is right on their heels. They're in special company. Look, offensive efficiency for the season. You have UCLA and Villanova, 2 teams that have legit national championship aspirations, and nestled right in between them, there's the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The special offensive efficiency. Now, it takes a little bit of time to learn Brad Underwood's system and for Underwood to learn his players. But when you look at these players right now, Paul, he's got some really elite level talent.
He has Evans and Carroll. Evans averaging 18 points per game. Carroll 17. Underwood, quote, "We're a good basketball team. Have we peaked? Not yet. We have a chance to be an exceptional basketball team, and we're showing that." Texas Tech coach Chris Beard after they lost by 17 Saturday. Brad has some really good players. He has an NBA point guard in Evans, one of the all-time great Big 12 players in Forte. And in my opinion, he has the most improved player, not only in the Big 12, but in college basketball with Carroll. He has young players who play their roles and play productive minutes, end quote. An unbelievable turnaround here, Teddy, after they were off that 0-6 start in league play. And now they're no doubt they're in the tournament, and maybe they're in position for a great seed.
And they're in position to make some noise once they're there. I mean, I'll tell you what, these are 2 teams I really don't have a lot of interest in betting against. You know, although I like Iowa State more in the road dog role than in the home favorite role. And we saw it again on Saturday. They were missing free throws down the stretch. Their heads weren't necessarily there as they were trying to close out the game against Baylor and almost blew that point spread cover for me in the final minute. Now, you don't want to leave that hanging over your head looking at this matchup, but I'm telling you, the emotions of these senior nights, when you talk about a senior-laden squad like Iowa State, sometimes it can be a little bit much for a team, in a sense, to overcome, as opposed to the road team to overcome. Sometimes the home team has to deal with all the emotions. Road teams just come into play.
Yes. All right, up next, here it is. Part 2 with Steve Cyr and the play of the day on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at SBRodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.
So back to the negotiation, if you can talk more about the shopping spree and how long it takes to negotiate that with a player, and also the craziest demands from these whales and high rollers. What's some of the wildest things you've heard?
Well, first of all, one stereotype is I think people think, oh, Steve Cyr's a casino. He must deal with everybody wants cocaine. No. I've been a host 30 years. I can count on one hand my big druggies. The guy that wants to do ecstasy and E all night and go to the club, he's not a gambler. My guys are addicted to the rush, betting the game, playing dice, playing blackjack. They get off the plane and they want to go gamble. The guy that does coke and stuff all night, he's not in my genre. And my guys aren't doctors and lawyers. Those people are stiffs. My guys are entrepreneurs. They own bars. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? One of my guys invented the Erie Deary lure. It's the flip thing on a fishing lure. It brings $100,000 a month. Another one of my guys invented objects and mirror are closer than they appear on your car. He gets a royalty on every car that goes on. So I like it. They're entrepreneurs. They're not the stereotype. Stars are stiffs. We have to deal with stars. That's cool. But they don't want to gamble. They just want free shit. In LA, the star's the king. Here, I'd rather have the construction worker with $5,000 that gives me a shot at it. You know what I mean? And even at the low level, hey, we try to pay their airfare up front, make sure the wife can go to Celine Dion show. I had a guy once whose kid wanted to, he was a tennis player in high school. I got Andre Agassi to give him a tennis lesson. That was cool.
Yeah.
I had one guy that wanted to play pool, and when he went to his room, we had a penthouse at the Nugget with a big pool table in it. And obviously, the Black Widow, her name's Janet, I think Janet Lee or something like that. We had her waiting for him there, and she just kicked his ass in pool. Try to do fun, little cool stuff like that. And then I've taken guys to Greece. I take one of my, we call him Fast Eddies in my book. That was my deal with him. Every other month, I took him around the world. He wanted to go to Greece for his 75th birthday. So we did. And then he wanted to go whitewater rafting in Jamaica. I thought I was going to die. I'm like,
didn't a guy want a bathtub filled up with champagne, and guy wanted certain cheese?
That was Cristal, but I think the more cool one is, we call him Mr. S. And what he does is we have to strain yogurt through cheesecloth. And Pauly, I don't know if it's the part that drips through or the part that it catches, but that's his butter for his toast. It's so weird. He brings his own toilet paper. I have a lot of eccentric and a lot of superstitious guys too. I have one that he's from Thailand, and he brings a soothsayer or whatever it's called with him. And so, like at the Hilton, on the 30th floor, the highest floor was our biggest villas, right? Of course. And so, but the soothsayer might come in and say, no, floor 16 is lucky. Okay, now I got to move like 50 people off floor 16, and he's going to stay in a little standard room. I'm like, dude, you're risking a couple million. You might as well stay in the 15,000 square foot Sky Villa. But he listened to the soothsayer, and he lost. And so I'm like, dude, fire that one.
Okay, 30 years doing this. Give me some of the sickest things you've seen in terms of losing, guys that are up. And hey, you always say you're not a librarian. I think a couple guys in the book have committed suicide.
Yeah. Fast Eddie was murdered, unfortunately. I'm not a librarian. That's a good point. And the other 4 guys committed suicide. Yeah, by the 3rd edition now, lots changed. Some of the sickest things, sickest things are I had a guy up $1.8 million and betting 50,000 a hand, and he goes, I'm going to win $2 million. I'm going to win $2 million. I begged him. This is over like 3 days. Like, it wasn't one long run. He'd chip away. And I'm like, dude, let me give you a check for like $1 million or $1.5 million. Go take 300,000 or 500,000 and take a shot, but take $1 million home. That's a score. I don't care whatever your bankroll is. Say I sit down with $200. If I double it to 400, dude, you're done. This guy started with like $300,000, and he was up to $2 million. Dude, you're done. So he's up now $1.9 million. I swear on my daughter's life, this is a true story. Bets 50,000, right? Doubles down because it's an 11. Now remember, he wins that hand. He's up over $2 million. It's over. Loses that hand. Then guess what happens the next 2-3 hours? Can't win it.
Yep.
Yeah. Ends up. I haven't seen him since. I have not seen him since. He literally was thrown up in a trash can. And then even when he's down to like $1.5 million, $1.2 million, that was sick. But then there's other stories too where I've had guys, stuck $500,000 and all of a sudden they win out. So it's cool. I like that rush. I like that they're on the edge. I like that the girlfriend's in one room and the wife's in another room and they're juggling. We never call anybody misses here, I'd say that's my guys aren't addicted to drugs, but it's gambling and ladies, that part's for sure.
Were you working when he passed away? But as everyone knows, were you working when Kerry Packer took the MGM for $20 million in one night in blackjack? And also, were you working when he bumped into a waitress? She spilled her tray of drinks and he paid off her mortgage.
Okay, no, I was the grunt host on duty. This is in the 90s at the Hilton, and I cashed out the waitress $100,000. That part's totally true. I was there, so no one can dispute that. Number 2 is a quick story. I was in a bonus pool, the B bonus pool, and this is in the 90s at the Hilton, where if we hit our EBITDA, which was like 62 million, whatever the number was, I can't really remember, that my bonus was going to be about $40,000. So I had already ordered my new Pontiac Trans Am Ram Air. This is in middle of December. I ordered it for the next year. So it was 97. I ordered a 98 and I was supposed to get it in January. And the car was about 40 grand. So we're at like 64 million, right? We're 2 million over. Swear to God, Kerry Packer walks in the day before New Year's Eve. They let him bet 50,000 a hand times 3 hands, 150 grand. The mother wins $11 million, no bonus. Because we don't make our EBITDA. He crushed everybody. I had to cancel the Trans Am order.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is
It's not his host. I wasn't high enough at that time, but I was definitely there. And he also, we had a girl named Christine in the Sting in the lounge, and he liked her so much, flew the whole band over to Australia to play for a friend's birthday party. And that night he gave her 100 grand too. It's just 2 pieces of plastic. That's how he was.
My God. Steve Cyr, our guest. Last question, and it's a long one. But if and I know you loved it, you're good friends with Dana White, but if McGregor-Mayweather happens, how would it compare to Mayweather-Pacquiao? And if we get the Raiders, how would this be where it's, I want the suite. I'll play 25,000 hand. I mean, you can talk about Mayweather-Pacquiao as well, that all these people, all these whales came to town and they're fighting over those tickets.
Okay. Well, I've quick opinions on everything. One, the Raiders are huge. We need it. We have 144,000 hotel rooms. The stadium, imagine. Then we'll have the Final Four here. We'll have the Super Bowl here sometime.
Yep.
The Raiders will be amazing. I hope it happens. Knock on wood. Every whale. I've already sent my book and a letter to Mr. Davis. I'd like to be in charge of the skyboxes and be the liaison between the casinos and the skyboxes for the Raiders. Seriously, I have a job interview. They called me back, and I hope you interview in a couple months. So that would be a really cool job for me. Okay, so Raiders are key. We want that so bad. Okay, I don't know if it'll be as big as Pacquiao and Mayweather because a lot of people know come on. Mayweather's going to dominate him. It's just like when Randy Couture fought who's the boxer that he fought? I can't remember. Shoot. Names. Anyway, if there's an MMA fight, of course Conor would crush him. There's no way. Floyd's way too good. You can't hit him. He'll destroy Conor. But my players do want to watch it. They are talking about it. I don't think it'll be as big as Pacquiao and that. You won't have that type of $5,000 just to get in the door kind of thing. But it's going to be big. It's going to be big. And I want it here because we're very event-driven. I don't want it in Dallas or someplace else. It'll be a huge event for the town, but it won't be nearly as big as Pacquiao-Mayweather.
And it was, we're ringside going, how much were they going for, 30,000, 50,000?
We paid, for one guy, we got him 3 ringside for 40 each. So we paid 100. When I say we, a casino did, not me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that really happened. Everybody wanted to see that fight, and that was easy money for me too because Floyd's too hard to hit. I mean, Floyd and Conor are smart. I think they got together a couple years ago and said, hey, let's, MF each other and do this. And they're smart. It's marketing, you guys. Come on. He can't keep up with Floyd. That's why Floyd opened at 20-1?
Yep.
20, I mean, of course. Floyd's going to crush it.
I could talk to you for 2 hours. How do we get your book? How do we get a hold of you? How do we find you on Twitter?
Okay, well, Twitter at Steve Cyr Vegas, at Steve Cyr Vegas. Steve at stevecyr.com is my email. I give that out because I don't care. And then the book's easy. Whale Hunt in the Desert, Amazon.com. Man, if you want to autograph one, email me and I'll send you one. It's my pleasure. It's really been cool. Like I said, I got rejected from Cornell. I get paid to speak there now a couple times a year. It's also NYU Stern School of Business, the required reading for their master's degree students. So it's really cool. It's about a kid from Kansas, and the next thing you know, he's with Larry Flint betting 50,000 a hand and why people gamble. And I didn't write it. They followed me for 3 years. And it's really cool. So I'm just the subject of the book, but it's fun.
Great to talk to you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, guys.
Pauly, I got to say, that Steve Cyr interview, and this was just part 2. Part 1, if you missed it, on yesterday's show. It might be the best interview we've ever done on SportsBIT. Well done. And I'm saying we, like I should get credit for it. Nice, man. That was entertaining, informative, and good information for our listening audience. Let's give them some more when it comes to Play of the Day, because it's Play of the Day time right now.
Back to Oklahoma State and Iowa State, betting number 749. We ran down the numbers with the Okies. Keep it simple, stupid, right? 5 in a row on the road and 4 as dogs. Well, we're getting 4 here. Senior night can be a distraction. Let's grab the 4 points with Oklahoma State and Underwood and the Cowboys to stay red hot. Betting number 749, the play of the day. Tomorrow we get into the madness with championship week. Early look at some of these small conference tournaments and some betting strategies out there as well. We'll talk to you then on SportsBIT, betting inside today on SBRpicks.com.